This is the network service of the NTA.
My name is Jennifer Igwe. Welcome to another interesting episode of Morning Ride. Now, age discrimination is a way of treating somebody less favorable because of the person's age. And now this trend is something that is growing in Nigeria and in various sectors. And to talk more about this issue, I have with me in the studio a legal aid expert, and he is no other than Barrister Promise Asikpo. Welcome to Morning Ride.
Good morning, thank you.
And I know that this trend is something common in Nigeria, where organizations will set age brackets for people they want to employ. But why do you think this is common?
Actually, the employers of labor actually have their own. It sets the requirement based on the policies of the company, what they tend to achieve. Some of them do it on the assumption that it's better to employ younger persons because of the fact that they may tend to work for a longer period with the company, or they will be more manageable and more productive. But such cases are not, to me, is not valid, in the sense that the employment should be based on competence, based on skills, and based on attitude of the employee, and not the age. So you have cases where people that are older may have better meet these requirements rather than the younger person. So everybody should be placed on equal opportunity. Sampling the opinions of HR managers in corporations, as the human resources managers, they were of the opinion that when they give restrictions that is favorable to the younger applicants, younger persons, that it tends to protect the interest of the company. For example, in some job offers, like trainee managers, okay, that when they employ the younger ones, that they tend to have more time to train them to manage the company subsequently in the future. But I think that is not a valid claim, because of that age, what you actually have is the fact that an elderly person or any other person that leaves any other company to apply for a company can actually bring in experience, also bring in competence and skills to the company, and actually in the best interest of the company to give room for good and fair competitions. So it is not actually a valid claim.
So sometimes when we take some of these actions in the country, we don't consider the implication. So what do you think is the negative implication of this?
Now, mainly you have one of the negative implications is the fact that you have the rise in unemployment, and you also have mediocrity in the employment sector, because persons will be, if you have competent hands, just because of the fact that they are above the required age, these persons are not given the opportunity to give their best services as regards the competence, the skills, and the knowledge they have. Okay, whereas you find a situation where the companies give these offers to the younger ones, or the person within the age who may not really have the capacity to run the company effectively, and this also affects the larger circle of the country, because if you are, as it is in Nigeria, the government is making plans to achieve to be one of the top 20 economies in 2020. We need to also benchmark. We need to know what is the thing that made these other countries to get to where they have gone. Okay, one of those things is competition. So if we don't give room for competition in Nigeria, we may not be able to achieve the goal.
But what do you think should be the solution?
The solution is very clear, as I said, giving equal opportunities to every person, to be judged based on their competencies, their skills, and their knowledge. And to make it very clear, like what some of the HR managers have been claiming, is the fact that maybe they want to just employ the younger ones who have time to groom them to achieve the company's goals. But the reality is that we don't groom age. What you groom is the skills, the knowledge, and the attitude. It's the attitude of the employee that matters, not necessarily age.
But You were saying something before we came on air about people graduating late.
Yeah, that is the major problem, because if we need to address this issue, we must actually get to the root cause. The challenge in Nigeria is the fact that you have, in many cases, you have unfavorable conditions. For example, we have a situation where so many schools, while they're writing their senior secondary examination council exams, they have a cancellation of results. The JAM, you have in JAM exams, you also have cancellation of results. You have delays in admissions. You have strike in public schools and all those. These things go a long way in affecting the ordinary citizen. And you also have the compulsory NYSC scheme. So at the end of the day, you have a situation where most graduates have lost out 3 to 4 years of their valuable time. And when they get into the labor market, they are unfavorably discriminated against by the same persons that ought to have made clear provisions. Okay, but the reality is that on recognizing this problem, we have come up with possible solutions, and we are supposed to aid and also complement the system to ensure that we uphold the rights of all citizens and give a fair and equal opportunity to everyone.
Okay, my friend Tina is saying, she says sometimes when they don't put age restriction, people never want to retire.
No, there's basically this policy we are introducing is not in the vacuum. Okay, in just as it is in most parts of the world, you have the employability age. Okay, that's the legal age of employment. Usually it's from the age of 18 as an adult, and fairly about the range of 60. So anybody within that age has the right to be employed. So whether the person is 20 or whether the person is 40 or whether the person is 50, he has the right to be employed. The only limit is that when you get to the age of retirement, ordinarily that is the end. But before that age, you are not supposed to be unfairly prejudiced.
But what sector will you say this is prominent?
It's actually in various sectors. You have even in the oil sector manned by the multinationals. You have even in private sectors. In fact, there are some government some government jobs that also give age restrictions. Okay, so we need it's something that is across board. So addressing it is supposed to go across board, and we need legislations. Okay, we need the government. We need the pressure groups. Like, for example, we have the Center for Labor Justice. We have a prominent practitioner, Barrister Enobong Ete, who is a Director General of the Center for Labor Justice in Nigeria. He has always stressed the need for Nigeria to align its policies with international best practices. When you do this, you can actually achieve an effective means of addressing these issues.
But was it like this some years ago? I'm just wondering, maybe in the 80s and the 70s, was it like that? This trend, this age discrimination issue, was it like that?
It has been there for a long time. Only that the influx of applicants has never been this much. Okay, and it's going to get worse because you have more people in the universities. You have a larger number of students in the secondary school. So it's going to get worse unless we take out effective steps to actually cut it and ensure that these things don't prolong.
Okay, but for people who are not so young, but who have been affected by this, I mean, what can they do to make themselves more marketable? Because I think it's also the issue of being relevant and still being marketable. Because if there's a job, for instance, for someone who is 18, and let me give, for example, if I have an organization and I need someone to be in charge of the social media, younger people, doesn't mean that we don't have people who are in their 40s that are not good in some of the ITs and software and networking issues, but it's better. Younger people are more versatile in that kind of in that area. And if I have an organization and I need to employ somebody to fill that position, I would want somebody who is younger and more versatile. I mean, so how in a situation like that, how can people who are above 40 and are interested in such position, what can they do?
Okay, interestingly, let me cite an example with the American jurisdiction. Okay, under the American, the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, there is room for waiver. Okay, this is law. This is a general rule. There are some specific cases of exceptions. Okay, now what is applicable there is the fact that a company can apply for a waiver from the regulatory body. That waiver is the bona fide occupation qualification. So where there's a peculiar situation like the nature of trade of the company that we directly and exclusively require people of the younger age, for example, they can apply to the regulatory body for a waiver, stating the reasons and grounds. The regulatory body will go through it and grant the waiver. So we have this kind of law in Nigeria. We could have situations where companies can apply for legitimate waiver. So on the other hand, where you talked about how the older persons can also keep abreast with the changes and actually improve and work on themselves to ensure that they have fair and equal chances with the younger ones, is actually clear. The criteria that are valid, okay, as regards to competence, skills, and attitude, as I said, okay, where the company makes it clear, this is what I want, okay. If you know, for example, one person is 21 and he knows he can meet this criteria as to competence, the qualification, the skills, he will apply. If the other one that is 40 years gets to know this the criteria, he will also apply. Not the major concern is that age should no longer be a factor, okay, because the Constitution has clearly provided for that, and it has proven to be functional and very valuable and effective in other jurisdictions, and Nigeria should not be an exception, because these are the things that will guarantee our success as a nation.
Now, I think we've really exhausted this issue, and I'm glad that there are legislations, but I hope we can be more stringent with them. But I'm just wondering, what can the civil society groups do?
Yeah, like I already pointed out, you have civil societies, you have other organizations like the Center for Labor Justice, which is currently doing very good job in the sector, in reforms. Also, we have other organizations, lawyers. We have always stressed the need that lawyers, activists are supposed to get more involved in these issues. Social issues are not supposed to be isolated from legal practice. We are supposed to be very proactive and ensure that we delve into these areas and bring in our contribution so that we can achieve a good and functional system. The Legislative House, for example, can also take that into action. There was a planned action in 2011 by one of the House of Reps who had made promises that the House of Reps is going to look into that, but we are yet to see results. So we always want all Nigerians to get involved in this thing so that we can actually achieve a better nation.
And when we talk about discrimination in employment, is it just limited to, is it a general thing, or apart from talking about the age, is there also a gender bias to it as well?
There are also gender bias, but I think that to a large extent it has been addressed fairly, though not yet. It's not yet completely effective, but it's not as bad as the age discrimination. We also have issues with like I said, the gender. We have issues with nepotism, where the tribe and other things. But I think with the policy,
when I mean gender bias in age discrimination, is there also a gender tone to it? Because I'm just wondering, are there situations where if they say they want people between the ages of maybe 20 and 30, they can have a waiver for men maybe who are 35 and not consider women who are 35?
And maybe that might be just in maybe exceptional cases where it has to do with the policy of the particular corporation or company.
So it's not an issue.
It's not really an issue. It's not really noticeable. But I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. It's not really noticeable. Based on my research and sampling, I've not really noticed that.
Thank you for coming to Morning Ride, and I think we should create more awareness.
Yes, awareness is on.
Okay, because there are people who have this notion, like my funny friend Tina, who was first of all talking about my dress before putting a comment. She was talking about people not wanting to retire, because there's this notion that one of the reasons I don't know if it's an erroneous belief or if it's true. One of the belief people have is that why they put that age limit is like in the civil service, for instance. I don't know how true it is, where they say people get younger by the day.
Okay.
So maybe they put that age limit so that they will know if we're taking people between the ages of 19 and 30, we are working at that bracket, and so that when you are now above 30, we know you are above 30. Not when you're supposed to be above 30, then you now suddenly become 25.
Okay, unfortunately, the reverse is the case.
Okay.
The intendment of the policy as to age discrimination, as is applicable now in Nigeria, has actually achieved the negative result. This strict policy on discrimination has, however, made the applicants to even make false statement as regards their age, because people graduate at older age and they think they won't be eligible for employment. They tend to forge their birth certificate. They declare age declaration. Someone that is 30 years.
Yes, I've seen somebody that I know who is like 40 something.
Okay.
And I went to where the person works, and they told me that he was like 20 something, and I had to hide my shock so that I don't spoil things for him.
That is the reality. It's because of the policy as is applicable now. That is why it's encouraging people to lie about their age. If you have a fair competition, you realize that people will no longer be judged based on their age. And when they are not judged based on their age, they will just submit their actual age. And by that, you'll be able to assess and determine the age for retirement, which is, for example, in most sectors is 60 or 65. So if someone is 50 and applies for a job, he will declare to them that it's 50. You will now have to lie that it's 35. But when we keep on practicing this,
so this discrimination is also the reason why people lie.
It's actually the main reason why people lie. Okay, because people are no longer judged by their competence. They are now judged based on their age, and mainly most Nigerians, most people will not want to be in a disadvantaged position when they know that the policy in its place does not encourage natural justice, because it's actually against natural justice. It's actually against freedom. It's actually against equity, where you place one other person in a disadvantaged position in any case where that person has the best and the most eligible potentials to earn the job.
Now this is you said now just reminded me of a time when some organizations were strict about employing people with first class and 2-1, and people in school would do everything desperately to make 2-1, even when they know nothing or have no experience or did not even read, but they just desperately want to have the 2-1. And when they come out, you ask them what is mass communication, if for instance that's what they studied, they have no clue what it's all about.
That's reality. Very soon I and my legal team, we are going to go into that aspect, and we're going to do very valuable and effective campaigns in that area, because the main problem is the fact that that has really encouraged corruptions in schools because of the mandatory 2-1 and first class. Persons tend to do what we call in the sorting and everything right from school just to have that, so it doesn't give room for competition. The current research I undertook even disclosed the fact that most companies, when they give opportunities to second class, lower applicants and third class applicants to apply, they even have the best scores, the best grades from the interview examinations and other things from the persons from the 2-2 and the third class, or some cases you have the 2-1 also. So the reality is that if someone has graduated from the university, at least it shows that the person has passed all the exams. He has succeeded in all the exams that was given in school. Maybe he had 1 or 2 failures or carryovers, but at the time of graduation, he has actually cleared his backlogs. So that person should be given the opportunity to face the real thing, the real life after school, because the conditions are actually different. Okay, when you are employing someone, they are employing someone to fit into the job scope, the job description, and not just the theoretical part in school.
Yeah, so it's an interesting issue. Okay, and I'm glad you guys are working on this, and I think this age discrimination thing is also the reason why parents now push their children into the university at a very early age. I heard somebody who was saying that he had to go and swear an affidavit for his son to get into the university at the age of 15.
That is it.
So it's a sad situation.
Okay.
Thank you for coming to Morning Ride.
Thank you very much.
It's now time for us to take health tips with Chibe and stay alive.